Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Perche's Corner. Special guest, Locked On Golden Knights, Chris Gawlik. Appreciate you joining. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, wasn't sure if I was supposed to keep going or if you're going to keep firing there. No, I'm glad to be
Yeah,
here. It's going to be exciting. Going to be a fun discussion.
yeah. So I was listening to your guys' show today, and you guys were talking about some of the rookies that kind of got sent back down, but I never look at that as a complete negative thing. It gives them time to develop, and I know you had mentioned Tanner Pearson. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, Tanner
Yep.
Pearson. He was brought on a PTO.
Yep.
We'll see how that shakes out, but a lot of experience. There's an opportunity on the fourth line, depending on how Coach Cassidy ices the lines, if you will, how he does the first couple weeks of lines. But it seems like he's going to slot in Tanner Pearson on that fourth line on the wing with Brett Howden and Keegan Colasar.
Yeah, one of the things that really stuck out that you said about him was, really having that 600 game experience. And sometimes I think what people watching the sport of hockey don't realize is that you might not get the Connor Bedard's and the McDavids kind of, hitting right out of the gate and putting up points. Sometimes it takes 300, 400, 500 games to develop into really making him that, complete player on the ice. So I really kind of like what you brought up there as far as a point on the show today.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's going to take a lot of time for some of the younger players. We mentioned the first cut down day occurred, I guess you can say, for the Golden Knights, sent down a bunch of players back to their juniors team, and we'll see exactly how it shakes out. And it's always interesting in Vegas.
Yeah, no, I remember kind of being back there where when they first entered the league, their first year of the playoffs, I was actually in Vegas. I purchased some playoff tickets online to go with my friend from Michigan.
Which game was it? Do you remember?
I do not. I know they were in the second round, and I had purchased tickets online, and I couldn't get them to pull up on my phone. So we completely missed that game, and it was an absolute bummer to miss a playoff experience in Vegas, because I've seen quite a bit of games here in Detroit, a couple Winter Classics myself, one in Chicago, one at Michigan Stadium. So missed opportunity. It was a bummer. She was super bummed because she's been living there for a while. So
yeah, no, it's Vegas does things a little bit differently. There's you're not going to hear in Oregon during intermission. They actually tried in the second season to have an Oregon player, and that fell just completely flat. But I actually had the privilege, if you will, in season number 1, kind of before I got on the media side of things, to crank the siren for game 1 of the first Stanley Cup final. That at first, like, Vegas had multiple Stanley Cups, which was crazy by itself. But the first Stanley Cup final, I was the first ever Golden Knights season ticket holder to crank the siren coming out of the first intermission. So,
no way.
Yeah, that was a moment. That was a moment.
That's pretty incredible. That's an awesome experience. Yeah, one of the things I wanted to kind of touch on, and I kind of flubbed a little bit in our message on Instagram, was the Robin Leonard situation. And from what I can kind of find online is that it's more of a hip issue, is from what I saw, and that they put him on LTIR. Whether that's the case, I guess you'll have to fill me in.
Robin Leonard, there's a lot going on. There's a very somewhat public situation regarding his finances, to stuff with like these snake farms and stuff, and just a lot of very weird, strange things. Seems like he got himself in the reality side, if you will, the non-sports side. Seems like he got himself in a bad business situation that cost him and his family a lot of money. Number one. Number two, he's been in the player assistance program. I don't know if he's still in the program or not. That's kind of unknown at the moment, but there are some personal issues going on there. As far as his health and being able to play, he hasn't played, I think, since the 2020-21 season, where the Golden Knights missed the playoffs, unfortunately. That's what gave Logan Thompson a chance to become an everyday NHL player. He did a wonderful job in his time in Vegas before asking to be traded to the Washington Capitals. But the issue with Leonard is he did not show up for the mandatory, whatever happens on the first day of training camp. I'm assuming there's some type of, maybe it's like a physical where someone's going to look you over and say fit to play or unfit to play. And then the Golden Knights would file the necessary steps for long-term IR. Obviously, he's not going to play at all this year. Since he didn't show up, it complicates things. Now the Golden Knights are looking to possibly terminate his contract. AHLPA is involved in everything. And Robin Leonard did issue a statement. Paraphrasing, it was those that know the situation know why I couldn't come, or something weird like that. So if I had to draw between the lines, he didn't show up for whatever his mandatory evaluation is under the direction of professional legal advice. If I had to guess, I'm guessing. So it's going to be a non-starter. His salary is not going to count against the Golden Knights, and they might even be able to find a way to get him completely off the books instead of LTIR, which gives a little bit of cap. I don't know how that stuff works with the cap, but it could actually help the Golden Knights cap just a tiny bit if he's not on LTIR, but actually gone from the Golden Knights.
Okay, yeah. No, that'd be helpful because, to be honest with you, they didn't really make a big splash in the offseason. I mean, besides kind of the trades they made towards the end of the season to get Holtz and Tomas Hertl, they really didn't do anything but kind of lock up a few guys, and obviously added a couple depth players, Zach Aston Reese, who, I'm a big Sid fan, so he had a decent, okay season there, but more of a depth role, right? And Hertl, I expect to come out and really make an impact with the team, and especially losing Marcia Show. I know that that guy's a dynamite player, fun to watch, and just super talented. So it'll be really interesting what kind of pairing they put with him, and really make that kind of work in the long term. But he's a good player, big, strong.
The Hertl situation looks like it's going to end up being Hertl on the third line with Nick Waugh and Alex Holtz, who they traded for, obviously. So that would be really interesting to see how that line shakes out. I say interesting because Nick Waugh has always been a fourth line center, or been a center that's been elevated in the event of injury and stuff like that. Nick Waugh on the wing hasn't done very well. Now, obviously, with a player like Tomas Hertl, that can certainly help. Hertl was terrible in the playoffs last year. He was hurt. And I think Hertl would have been shut down had he finished the season with the San Jose Sharks. Golden Knights obviously made the playoffs. He wanted to make a run for a Stanley Cup, and the Golden Knights got, 2 goals from, away from advancing to the second round. Who knows what would have happened if the team would have got a little bit healthier and stuff. So it'll be good to see a healthier version of Tomas Hertl. Very good puck possession player, good in the corners, good on the boards, smart, obviously a ton of NHL experience. So, and having him on the third line, not being necessarily as relied upon as he was in San Jose, will be really good. You touched on the offseason. Golden Knights didn't really make a splash. That's correct. Alex Holtz and Akira Schmid were traded from New Jersey for Paul Cotter. I think that's a win for the Golden Knights right there. Mm-hmm. Victor Olofsson, that's a lottery ticket. We'll see if he can rekindle anything from his time with Jack Eichel in Buffalo. Dude was a healthy scratch in Buffalo, and Vegas is very high on him. So I don't know exactly how that's going to shake out. I'm not as high as most are, but we'll see. Eichel, and the first line is going to be Eichel with Barbashev, familiarity. They played a lot last 2 seasons together. And then Olofsson right now is slotted to be the winger on that line. So Olofsson going from a healthy scratch in Buffalo to line one with Jack Eichel in Vegas. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's hockey. It doesn't need to make sense. So last thing you said, some offseason acquisitions. We talked about those, but the real big acquisitions happened at the deadline in Hannafin and Hertl. So that carries over because obviously Hertl has a long contract, and Noah Hannafin got a nice big fat bag. What, $7 million? It's, I don't know, over $50 million, whatever it was. But we'll see how it all shakes out.
Really talented player. I really like that move that they did. It was almost bittersweet, being a Canuck myself, to see him leave Calgary and then end up in Vegas. But that tends to happen a lot. If it's not working out in a Canadian market, you'll see a guy go south of the border and really kind of nab up the opportunity. And
no state income tax too.
Yeah, exactly. So I love Noah Hannafin, and I'm actually a huge fan of Pietrangelo. He's one of my favorite defensemen of all time. Just love watching that guy play from his days in St. Louis, and He's been nothing but a staple, I think, for the Golden Knights. So, yeah, they got a really good decor right now. Aiden Hill played really well last season, 35, 19, and 12. 0.909 save percentage and a 2.71 goals against, was a little higher than the previous year, but I guess it's kind of going to be coming down to goalies a little bit with Samsonov. I watched him a lot when he was on the Leafs, and can tell you all sorts of ill wills about that guy, where they sent him down to the AHL, had some reconditioning stints with him, and then brought him back. He looked okay, but they really were banking on Joseph Wall to come out and not rely on Samsonov. So it'll be very interesting to see how they play out the goalies. But Aiden Hill's good. I know he's getting up there in the goalie age, but he's still got talent, and he's been doing real well the last few seasons. So
you mentioned Samsonov and conditioning and things like that. I already heard from we'll say an active NHL player, I'll leave it at that he's already been asking questions about days off during the season because he needs his time to recover and everything. So here we go already with Samsonov. Listen, Samsonov, I mean, you look at his stats, like his stats aren't terrible. 40 games, 42 games, 44 games. Dude can play, and he at least plays a lot of games, which in Vegas, you're going to need that. I'll talk about Aiden Hill in a second. You look at his record. I mean, 23-7 last year with Toronto, but a 3.13 and an 8.9 save percentage. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of all these advanced metrics that are out there. I still think plus minus is a very important stat, but I'm kind of on an island now in that. But what I do know about Samsonov and all the advanced metrics and all that stuff, he was literally the worst goalie in the NHL last year. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how that improves. Obviously, Toronto and Vegas have two very different decors. Mm-hmm. The Golden Knights. Mm-hmm. Coach Cassidy made a comment. He wants the Golden Knights to have the best defense in the Pacific Division. I think that's a reasonable, obtainable goal for the Golden Knights. Mm-hmm. Aiden Hill, there's concerns there. When he's healthy, he's one of the best goalies in the league, if not the best goalie from a statistical perspective. When he's healthy is the concern, though. 27 appearances was his career high regular season appearances 2 seasons ago, the Stanley Cup season. Last season, 35 appearances. Mm-hmm. That's his career high. So plus side, he's gone from 27 to 35 games. That's good. Negative side, he's making $4.9 million this season. He's getting paid a starter's wage. He needs to be out there for about 50 games. And I don't know if that's reasonable, but when he's on, he's on. When he's off, it's usually not for long with Aiden Hill. So we got that going for us.
It's really crazy to kind of see over the last couple seasons with most NHL teams really kind of changing towards that dual goalie tandem.
It's a tandem league.
League. Yep. It's not where one guy is going to ride out 40, 50 games.
Swayman ain't getting $10 million from Boston.
No. And so that's what they really have to rely on, is that depth in goalie, and really not put that kind of pressure and having that goalie in for a lot of games during the season. Because then if you do make the playoffs and you go for a run, you want that main goalie ready to go, and not have any sort of ailments and maybe fatigue, going into the playoffs. So yeah, it'll be kind of interesting on what you guys do in that aspect. And if Samsonov even gets, a decent amount of playing time, my guess is they'll just balance it right where Aiden's the main man. I know you got the goalie from New Jersey last year as well. And I guess we'll see. I know he's been playing in your preseason games, but we'll kind of see what kind of skill he brings to the team, and if they can run with that. So
I think Akira Schmid is the future goaltender of the Golden Knights from a starting perspective, or at least one half of that tandem that is what the NHL has become. You look at Schmid just a couple seasons ago with the New Jersey Devils, he puts up a 9.22 in 18 appearances. And then last season, 19 appearances, 8.95. Again, New Jersey Devils, not exactly, the best measuring stick from a defensive team, but the dude can play. He had 30 minutes in the last game against the Sharks, the first preseason game. ended up no goals allowed. Did have a remarkable save on a 2-on-1 scenario. So, he looks the part. The team doesn't need to rush him. I know he has some waivers eligibility, I believe. So if he needs to go up and down, that's fine. I don't see the Vegas Golden Knights retaining Adin Hill or extending him some point throughout the season. I think his contract is a mistake personally. I think he got a little too much, but it's tough because you have a goalie who had a remarkable 16-game run in the Stanley Cup playoffs. He put up the second best save percentage ever in the history of the Stanley Cup playoffs when they started measuring that, only behind I think Tim Thomas one postseason if I'm not mistaken. So it was tough for the Golden Knights to give him a $10 million bag over 2 seasons, but in the same breath, it also was impossible for him not to extend Adin Hill. So, that was kind of the beginning of the end, unfortunately, for Logan Thompson, who ended up requesting a trade, wasn't necessarily happy about his utilization last season. And we'll see what Logan can do over there in Washington as he's in a contract season looking to get his first big payday. He's been making like $762,000 for like the last 4 seasons. It's laughable his contract, but it's a contract he had to sign to break into the NHL. So it is what it is.
It is crazy because he's actually a very talented goaltender and a guy I personally like and liked watching. So I think, going over to Washington, the season they had last year, just kind of squeaking in, it'll be interesting what he brings to that chase. Then getting Pierre-Luc Dubois over there, possibly playing on the first line with Ovi and really helping him achieve that goal mark will be crazy. But it is a loss for Golden Knights overall. I think in the long term, it'd be nice to have Adin Hill and Thompson to go. But hey, if he wanted out, you gotta give the guy his piece to move on, I suppose. Another thing I kind of wanted to touch base with you on, because he really has gotten a lot of flack the last couple of seasons with his LTIR, is Mark Stone. And, kind of looking at his stats, and, I wrote them down: 212 goals, 355 assists. He's got 567 points. He's a plus 119. So, he's a solid player and making the right moves out there, but he hasn't played an actual full season his whole career. And specifically the last 5-6 seasons really hasn't played many games. So it'll be interesting to see him kind of come in healthy, if he can stay healthy, maybe even if he, doesn't play, I suppose, a whole season, but gives himself some conditioning days to really kind of pan out and last and help them make a push for the playoffs again. And I'm just kind of curious your thoughts on that.
I think Mark Stone has a healthy year. I've been saying that a lot on Locked On Vegas Golden Knights. I think Mark Stone finds a path to playing close to 75 games. I know they'll probably get the chat box going here in a second, but I think Mark Stone definitely can have a healthy bounce back season. He looked pretty good last year, and I was just saying, it might have been the game he got injured. I think it was against the Preds, just a weird open ice check. PLD's a diva. It's funny.
Yeah.
No, but it was just a weird open ice check, nothing bad, and winds up getting the spleen issue. And then, so that was a bad luck injury. He was almost a point per game player, 53 and 56 season before, 38 and 43, 30 and 37 before that. And then the COVID weird season, he played 55 of 56 games. Going back to time with Ottawa, he had a real good run where he played 80, 75, and 71 games. So I think Stone's been chirping the media a lot. He's been basically, I'm sure he's probably read some of my stuff and listened to our show, but some stuff, don't write the Golden Knights off. It feels like there's something to prove right now. So the Golden Knights have a pissed off captain, for lack of a better term, coming into the 2024-25 season. And I think, we're talking about a team who just won the Stanley Cup a year ago. And the team is 2 seasons ago now. The team's a lot different, but it's also the same core as far as the defense goes. There's a lot of really good players still on the top 12 forwards, Mark Stone being one of them. So this team can make a run. If they can tread water until about January, February, till the Four Nations break, not the All-Star break, but the Four Nations break, I think that's when Kelly McCrimmon's going to start making some moves, general manager of the Vegas Golden Knights, and they're going to find that deal out there. It's going to help get the team to a possible place to compete for a Stanley Cup. But will they tread water and be in the top 3 in the Pacific long enough where they're going to want to make that move? That's the biggest question.
Yeah, and I think, kind of like we were talking about earlier, if they can get that Robin Leonard contract off of their books and
It's a
really,
non-starter either way, but yeah.
yeah, and really open up a little bit of money there, I think we could see a few trades kind of in the second half of the season, and maybe even really add some depth to the team and give them that extra push. So I think that would be interesting to overall see. I mean, they do have a really good team, and I think a lot of people are just jealous that they really kind of hit it off running, right? They got a cup pretty quick in not too many seasons, and you don't really see that from a ton of expansion teams. It's really been hard for, I mean, I've been watching hockey since I was a kid, and when you see these expansion teams, not many of them really come in. Really, the only one I can kind of think of off the top of my head that came pretty quick was when Colorado came in, and Avs won a cup pretty quick, and
Yeah, but that was a move from Quebec. I get it, but yeah.
yeah, and so they got a solid team, and yeah, it'll be an interesting season to see what they do. And again, I like the moves, the couple moves that they made at the end of the last season, and I just think it really brings a lot of depth to the team and juggling around and um, seeing how they can kind of play with that and to their advantage overall. So.
I think the big thing right now is what's going to happen with this team after the season is over. We mentioned some trades and things like that. So, really fast, Brett Howden, Keegan Colasar, Victor Olofsson, and then Brisson, Holtz, and Ronberg are RFAs. The other three are UFAs. On the defense, Theodore, Braden McNabb are UFAs. Aiden Hill and Samsonov are UFAs after this season is over. So a lot of questions as to what's going to happen with this team. And I mean, if the Golden Knights tread water and do well, Kelly McCrimmon will do what he can to try and get this team in Stanley Cup position. But if I had to look at a crystal ball and predict the master plan, I think the master plan is going to be 25, 26, and maybe 1 or 2 years after that is the real Stanley Cup window. This year, you see if what type of role Holtz is going to have, if Olofsson's going to help and stuff like that, what the goalie situation is going to be. So get through this season. If they compete for a cup, wonderful. But I really think 25, 26, and then 1 or 2 years after that, that's the window. And then after that, we'll see.
Because it'll almost be like, are they going to be in a rebuild phase? And
they don't know, right? But McCrimmon doesn't know how to do that, and Bill Foley doesn't have the patience for that. I really think that they feel there's a path through trades. Some teams develop through a draft. Fine, good for them. That's what the Blackhawks are doing. We see that with the Sharks, and Buffalo's trying to do that. Not doing it well, but they're trying. So we'll see exactly how all that shakes out. But I think there is a belief that they don't need to draft players. Use the drafts picks to utilize other assets for the team.
Yeah, yeah, he's kind of made his moves that way. You're right. Over the last couple of seasons, it'll be interesting to see. I know we only got about 6 minutes now, 5 minutes left with you, and I appreciate you coming on. I wanted to definitely talk about cards as much as I want to continue on with your Vegas Golden Knights. I do want to take the opportunity for the cards and kind of see how you got started in that and what led you to breaking and ultimately pulling a big Connor Bedard autograph on the show. And how long you've been collecting and what got you into it.
I mean, I think my story is like a lot of people, right? You're younger, you collect, you go to the convenience stores or your card shops with a few bucks in your pocket, buy some packs and call it good. And then we stopped doing it for a while. And then I'd gone through the checkouts at Target and Walmart, maybe in 2016, 2017, like, hey, I want to, this looks fun. What do I buy? But I never buy anything. And finally just buy a couple of blasters and have a little fun with it. Find my way into a Facebook group where I'm buying into like pack wars and, just random box breaks and stuff. There was no type of hockey happening. I'm watching and I'm thinking, okay, well, I get the courage up to maybe just, take my shot at doing this, doing the breaking thing here. So I got in touch with one of the admin. I'm like, hey, you guys ever thought about, anything with hockey? I know the sport pretty well, whatever. And they said, great. When do you want to start breaking? I'm like, what, huh? No training, no nothing. Just jump on doing some pack wars for hockey, some small breaks. And then just really grinding it out and stuff and kind of getting it bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where we're doing some case breaks every now and then. And not just hockey, but other sports, but really hockey was always the passion, as we can tell here. Fast forward really until about 2020, 2021, somewhere in that ballpark where Whatnot was really just starting to pop. I got in there back and it was a lot harder to get into Whatnot in the beginning. Not anymore, but in the beginning, it was really tough to get on Whatnot. I was able to get in through a friend, which was nice, and did a couple singles shows. I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. Did some hockey, and then I actually abandoned hockey for a while because it was really tough. I did other sports, like a lot of basketball and football. And then I got back to hockey and just really started popping. And, here we are 3 years later. I think I'm probably one of the top 3 or 4 breakers in the hockey category and Whatnot, at least in that ballpark. Kind of depends maybe who you ask and stuff like that. But we're grinding out small breaks and big breaks and retail and multiple case breaks and single box breaks and everything. Pardon me, everything in between.
Hopefully you're, beating out breezy breaks. I mean, I want to see you kind of smoke that guy in the water.
He's the king. So. He's the king.
Yeah,
he's the king. I mean, he's probably starting in 3 minutes, and his show will have 150 people in that room. And
it's crazy.
What he's doing, he gets a ton of credit. I mean,
he does.
I don't interact with him a lot, but I watch from afar, and I know there's some mixed emotions about him, but nothing but respect and admiration for the fact that dude can log on and go through 5 figures of wax on a nightly basis without even batting an eye. So that's what we all dream for in this business, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've been collecting cards since I was a kid. So really kind of got back into it, going on a year and a half ago myself, but I have a huge collection already, and I mainly collect Crosby and Ovi, and have over 300 of Crosby. Yeah. Not bad. Right. And Ovi about 250 or more. And then autos, patches, and things like that. But I like breaking. I like ripping cards. It's fun to watch you guys rip, but I personally like getting a hobby box and kind of ripping and
for sure. No doubt.
Yeah.
It's funny, like as a breaker, like obviously we're being delicate with the cards, making sure we're careful when we slice and not touching the corners, not touching the auto, going nice and slow. But when I'm ripping my own stuff, I'm like chewing on the box and throwing cards everywhere, not even being careful if I sleeve them. But yeah, it's weird times right now with all the Bedard stuff and how Bedard is basically worth half the box and stuff. And the cup just came out. That's been just an absolute honor to be able to even just touch that stuff and rip case after case of that. We got OPG Platinum hitting tomorrow. I think that's going to be a ton of fun. And Upper Decks, they're keeping us busy right now as they're playing catch up still as far as their release chain goes. And and then when the season starts, we'll start getting the 24-25 stuff as we're still getting 22-23 products. So it's we're going to be busy for a little while. We're going to be busy.
No, that's good. Platinum's going to be a great product. I think
I love Platinum.
It's amazing. I think they did a really good job with last year's product as far as some of the quality issues of being off center and
21-22 is terrible. I'll happily say that. I'll tell anyone from Upper Deck it was an awful. It was an awful on the QC.
Yeah, and then even the pictures of the players were even a little bit faded. So
it was a bad product. All it is a bad product.
Yep. And what's your thoughts on Allure?
I love Allure. I mean, it's like a lot of product is going down in cost right now, which is good and bad, I guess. But Allure is a lot of fun. I mean, obviously, you saw me ripping it the other day, and we pulled that nice Bedard, just a red rainbow auto. I pulled a blue line jersey auto of his out of it. I've pulled a regular blue line hits and one purple diamond so far. Not auto, just a regular purple diamond, I believe, to 10. Out of ice, we pulled an exquisite quad relic to 49. It's redemption, unfortunately, but still it's a massive heart. That's a massive card right there. And looking forward, hopefully, I want to find one of those shields tomorrow, the short prints that they have. That's a new short print they're going to have in the set. That'll be fun. And the pond hockey is still one of my favorite pulls.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah,
Golden Treasure would be cool, but let's be real. Let's be reasonable.
Yeah. I ended up pulling 2 blue line autos out of one hobby box. And
that happens sometimes. That happens. Yep.
Yeah,
crazy.
I haven't seen that. So it was Nick Suzuki and Luke Evangelista.
Perfect.
And I was
even better. Evangelista. That's a big pull. That's a big pull.
Yeah. I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I don't know if I've seen this in anyone that's ripped it open. So
Very rare, but it happens. Very rare.
I really want a Stanley Cup. That's the
Oh,
one.
those are awesome. So they're the regular ones aren't too difficult to pull. The Spectrums, the numbers, those are tough. And I've ripped out on probably on 20 or 25 cases of Allure. I've not pulled a Stanley Cup autograph yet. That's obviously the wish, to find the Gretzky Oilers autograph. Stanley Cup.
That'd be great. That'd be absolutely epic. No, it's one of my favorite products of the year. I absolutely love Allure. I've opened up 3 hobby boxes and ton of retail blasters. Of course, shame on me.
Retails are good. Retails are good.
I love it. I think getting the yellow taxi.
The yellow taxis. Yeah, go ahead. You beat me to it.
Yeah, in the confetti.
In confetti, they call them. I think they're not gold glitter bomb. They're confetti in retail.
Yep. Which is if you look, I got a Crosby gold card, and it very much looks like the confetti card that you get in this product. But I just wanted to make sure that we kind of talked about that. And
for sure, it's awesome.
Silver State Hits on Whatnot is where you can find Chris. You're pretty much going all week from what I can see, and then Locked On Vegas is every day, or Locked On Golden Knights, I should say. And do you guys have a set time? Like, usually I'm at work, so I try and put it on at lunch and watch the rerun. But is there a specific time that you go on every morning?
Yeah, we record Locked On at 6 a.m. local Vegas time. I get it at least on YouTube by 7 a.m. Pacific or 10 a.m. Eastern. And then the audio feed usually comes on anywhere sometime, I would say by about 12 or so Eastern time, so about 9 a.m. Vegas time. Just kind of depends when Tony can get to it. And that's actually 6 days a week. Monday through Friday is me and Tony. And then Saturday, we just got back into it. Me and my son do a show. My son, Christopher, he's 10 years old now, and we do a Saturday Locked On Vegas Golden Knights. So
oh, man, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, we did our first one of the new season actually this past Saturday. So
no way. That's
pretty
great.
Cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I have some little ones myself, so I know they would love to hear that and see that. But I want to respect your time. And
you're good. Yeah, cool.
I know you had a specific block. I mean, if you can, I just wanted to kind of touch base with you on that and make sure that we were good. And if you got to go, hey, I totally understand. And I'll
cut up. But you want to do this again? If you want to talk about any more products or anything, I'm definitely down to make this a semi-regular thing, and we can have some fun.
Yeah, I would love to. I'm such a huge hockey ripper. I would absolutely love to do that and take you up on that, because I think diving into some cards in a little bit more in depth would be a lot of fun. But
for sure,
definitely wanted to talk to a hockey guy, and you guys do great, and today's show was awesome. So I listened to it, listened to yesterday's as well, and kind of got you guys on. So cool. Good luck in the season, and definitely appreciate you coming on, and we'll link up and talk some cards next time for sure.
For sure. Awesome.
Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate you. Yeah,
thanks,
you
guys.
too. Thank you, sir. All right, guys. I wanted to give you I'm going to give him a shout out here, and I want to thank you guys all for coming. It was awesome having Chris, and I'm going to go in the backstage and talk to him real quick. And but thanks to Sith, Spine Ticks, Barry, Logan, G.I. Joe Gamer, In the Box, Tim. Really appreciate you coming out. Goza, Zach, really appreciate it. We got Papa and Baby Bear, Zach's Collections. Thanks so much. Appreciate you coming out. We got Maidenhead stopped by. We got who else here? My wife that stopped by, my best friend Paul, appreciate it. And TCB, appreciate you coming out. Really appreciate it, guys. And we'll definitely be seeing you again. I'm gonna have Hammy and Son came on. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the support, of course. Brittany, good to see you. But we're gonna end the show. We'll see you next time. I'm gonna have Glenn Barracuda on. And then Jeremy Lee is going to come on, talk some sports cards. October 14th it's going to be an early show at about 2 p.m. Eastern. And then I'm going to schedule something with Glenn Barracuda. But I appreciate you guys coming out. It's going to be short and sweet. First show. I love you guys. Thank you so much. and we'll see you again next time.